Okay, we resume Ulefes Sappirim, the schus of the Zara Kodesh that Rav Shlomo Al-Ghazi selected for us. Should help us, be Mavir the Dinim, take out the Kotzim Shoshan, look Meshchin Tamafel, look Meshchin Megosa Bay, Yivkun Megosa Barakamin. So we're in Yom Asiri. This is what's supposed to be learned on a 30-day rotation. When Yom Asiri, entry Chaf Beis. Oh, Sham, Daf Mem Down Beis, Medrash Rus. So now they're in the Zohar, Daf Mem Down on Beis, which is also Medrash Rus. We have Zohar Chodesh on Rus. So there it's corrected in the square brackets. It's Zohar Chodesh Rus Tzadi Chesam Beis. Right? Vadam Lo Zachar Seisha Miskenu Hu. Right. I think we did this one. Right. We'll do it again. No one remembered. Adam did not remember that poor man. That's Ramesh David of Sham Elain Sham Kuf Sham Kuf Sham Loya Nechrog Beis of Mikdash. So it refers to Adam Rishon. So it's Adam. Los Chazim must go. The poor man, referring to David. They only gave him 7 years. We're giving him 100 years. The Korban Abayis would not happen. Now, just as I was reading, I realized we did this already, and we explained it extensively in the last video. So, entry Chav Gimel. Because of Rishon's Daf paid out. Hiksha Bakaso Shil Ben Amisech. Oh man, we did this also. Why you should always mention your mother. Oh man, we did the next one also. My apologies. Okay, so we're up to entry Chaf Hey. That's good news. Entry Chaf Hey. Because the Sefer Bamid brought off Kuf Pei Aleph Amud Beis. So now in the Zohar, that's Chelik Gimel. Kuf Pei Aleph Amud Beis. What is the good? It's Pasuk Koheles. What good does a person get from all his toil? Zayo Shosh Alpish Yosh Makom Shomoshe Mekom Kam Lo Zachal Lemkomo Mamesh. Right, this refers to Yoshua. In what way? Yoshua, he got Moshe Rabbeinu's place, in the sense he got his political office of the leader, the singular leader of the Jewish people. But he didn't get his place literally, in the sense of being on the madrig of Moshe. He tried, so that that's what's being alluded to. Yoshua tried, but he couldn't. He was no. He was no equivalent replacement from Moshe Rabbeinu. So he got Moshe Rabbeinu's political office, for lack of a better word, as the undisputed leader of Klal Yisrael and probably the greatest prophet of his generation. And not only that, he was the guardian of Torah Sheba'al Peh in a certain way, shape, or form. Right, whatever it means, Masor Yoshua. All right, but still, he just could not, be another Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Zohar, alludes to the famous Chazal that Rasatra mehotcha v'lo kol hotcha. That Moshe was told by Hashem when he gave Shmi Yoshua, put from your glory on him. From your glory, not all your glory. Moshe was able to shine like the sun. Yoshua shined like, he shined, but like the moon, not like the sun. A lot of Torahs, but this Zohar puts a very interesting spin on it. So Moshe Rabbeinu shines like the sun, as Shlomo Al-Ghazi brings from the Zohar, that Moshe Rabbeinu was self-generating of light. Yoshua is just like the moon reflecting the sun's light. Yoshua was a reflection of Moshe's light, but it wasn't like Moshe that was a source of light. So, but the cute thing that this Zohar does is that it threads it into the psukim of the phraseology of the Sefer Koheles. That's all tachas hashemesh, under the sun. Yoshua is under sun. The sun, the shemesh is Moshe. Tachas hashemesh is Yoshua. That's Pelvana. This guy who's Tachas Hashemesh, he's Tachas Hashemesh, he's Yoshua, who's Kapon of Kapnei Levana, he is under Moshe Nimshal Hashemesh, this Adam who is Tachas Hashemesh, you could never compete with Moshe Rabbeinu if you got his political office, mamash. Oh, because of say for Bamidbar, Daf Reish Lamed Zaud Amid Aleph. Also, there's written in Zohar Bamidbar, Reish Lamed Zaud Amid Aleph. So Shenimtza Pinchas Biyud. So sometimes we find, not Pinchas sometimes spelled Mole with a Yud, which is not the way it's spelled conventionally in most of the places in Tanakh. But sometimes we find every once in a while Pei Yud Nun Ches Samach Pinchas Biyud. So why does sometimes we find Vishal Kaminian Yitzchak Shem Reish Ches? So I'm relying on the Zohar that when it's spelled with a Yud, when Pinchas spelled with a Yud, it'll be the same gematria as Yitzchak, which is 208. And the reason is, it alludes to the, when it's spelled full with a Yud, even though I don't think you ever see this in Chabish Kumshero, but not. This is all off the cuff. I think it's only in Nach that you'll see it every once in a while with a Yud. But nonetheless, when it's spelled with Yud, it alludes to that way. It's Gematria Yitzchak. It alludes to the famous story of how he killed Zimri. Now remember, Zimri was a very, very chashuv a person. Was the head of Shevet Shimon, and he was doing it, with all his Shevet, watching. Shevet presumably one would have expected them to defend Zimri. Right, and he had the guts to do it, against the brazenness of Zimri, who had the confidence to do it, what he did in front of Moshe and in front of all Bnei Yisrael, and surrounded by his Shevet. And Zimri had, not surrounded, Pinchas. Pinchas had the guts, the gvura, to get up and kill him and barab him, even amongst his even as he was surrounded by his supporters. All right, so that's so he got the meat of Gvura, which is the meat of Yitzchak. V'zehu, so now the Zohar goes on to explain. That's what it's vayikach romach biyadu. Right, so he took a romach. Now romach is spelled without the vav, so it's resh mem chet 248, 248. Like the number of organs, we'll see if that's going to play a role. So the Zohar is like the Cody. He took a romach, reish memchet. Romach spelled without the vav. Yashaz b'shem Yitzchak ola shmo reish chet. Right. So because after he, just the very fact that he had the guts to do it, so he already gets that yud that makes his name b'gematria Yitzchak. He's a gibor. He's got the guts to do this. So now the gematria of his name now became reish chet. 2 out of the 3 letters of Romach, when spelled just with 3 letters without the vav. So the gematria of his name became Reish Chet, gematria Yitzchak, Ros, Mem Petucha, Shim Mulei Adam. Right. So now the letter Mem, regular Mem, not Mem Stuma, because it's the Mem that's in the middle of a word, right? So that's the Mem Petucha, regular Mem, not a Mem Sofit. And that the mem was full of blood. Os malach maves mimos adam rishon maybe maves laolam. Right. V'zeu sod vatikach mi pirio. Mem. Right. Vaya mitzape osios vav tov shetir mavet. Mem mavet v'zeu os mem ra Pinchas porachs bar ve'mitzap machmas l'kov mi'al zkaret l'kov mimeno b'koach shel shem Yitzchak shel Reish Chet l'kach mem v'zeu v'ikach romach. I'm sorry I had to read this through to see where it's going, because like I always say, when I learn a sefer with you guys, I'm learning it in real time. It's a chavrusa. Okay, so Pinchas saw the letter mem. Now the letter mem, right, is a letter that spells mavet, death. The mem that's in the middle of Romach is the same letter of mem that is the word mem that spells mavet, death. So now, how did death come into the world? How did death come into the world? Right? And this actually cross references with a Zohar in Parshas Bereshis, already in the Hakdama, which I do not remember fully Baal Peh, but I vaguely remember, the enough to understand what this Zohar in Bamidbar is alluding to. All right, so now, initially there was no death in the world, right, before Chet Adam Rishon, right, which means no death in the world means there was no code, no coding, for death, which means the word mavet, wasn't, in space, in the space that we occupy. Right. So now, like I said, I vaguely remember as a Zohar in the very beginning, Bereshis, already in the Hakdama, that discusses how by Chet Adam Rishon the letters got inverted and the word Mavet got spelt out. And that's what brought death into the world. Because, as we know, our holy tongue, Lashon HaKodesh, is a cosmic code. And, and the Tzirufei Osius, that's code. That's cosmic DNA, man. Right? It's powerful stuff, Lashon HaKodesh. It's cosmic code that spells out, coding for entities, coding for events. So now when she took V'tikach mi pirio, Chava, she took from its fruit. It could have just said V'tikach pirio, right? She took from the fruit and made Adam eat it, right? All right, so that's when the sin was finalized, right? And that's when, irreparable damage until the future, Bezra B'meira B'yameinu, was done, right? So it said V'tikach mi pirio. That's what you should say. Vatikach, she took its fruit and gave it to her husband. No, V'tikach mi pirio, mem, right? Right, she took, mi pirio taking from fruit. She took the letter mem, separated it so it could float and merge with the letters vav and tav to spell mavet, and that's how death came into the world. So with her taking mi pirio, mem pirio, right, by taking from the fruit was an act of separating the letter mem so it can now merge with the vav and tav and spell mavet, right? So now and that's what it says. It's called vatitain, right? She gave it gam leisha, right? She gave it also to her husband. So in vatitain you have the letters vav and tav. So Schabris osios maves. So so she from the taking the mi period, she got the mem, and then vatitain. So vatitain has the letters vav and tav in it. So it's like now it spells mavetain. She gave death to her husband. So that's the Schabros mavet. Because the mem from mi period, added itself to the vav and tav of vatitain. So it could now read mavetain. She gave death also to her husband. That's one way. There might be other ways to work out the coding as per that Zohar and Bereshis that I don't remember fully, but I know it talks similarly of how the Oisius got inverted to spell Mavet. Pinchas there, right? So now Pinchas saw the letter Mem, which could be added to Vav and Tav, and was at one point in history. Added to Vav to bring that on. So Pinchas saw the mem, right, of Mavet, and he wanted to do a tikkun for it, right? So now the Malcham Mavis wanted, to make sure that the mem is still full of blood and available to merge with the Vav and Tav at any given time to bring more death into the world. Right? So the Pinchas, with the power of Gevura of Yitzchak, he grabbed the letter mem, the cosmic mem, and took it away from out of the grasp of the Malcham Mavis, always seeks to merge it with the Vav and Tav. He told him, because he had the shame Yitzchak, now he had the power of Yitzchak, he had the Gevura do so, which is a Gematria Reish Ches, and now he took Lakakam Mem, right? Took the Mem and sandwiched it in, right? It's an amazing thing, So again, this is all, I'm coming into this, you know, cold. That's the way we do things here when we learn a sefer. But I can immediately think that the power of Gevura of Yitzchak is also the midah of Tchias HaMesa. That's why his bracha to Gibor Lo Hashem is the bracha to Hashem Mechaye HaMesim, and Yitzchak is also Ketz Chai, the edge of life, right? So on the one hand, edge of life, that you're willing to be, as he has the Gevura, is the midah of willing to be Meiser Nefesh Al Kiddush Hashem, right? Being Mizgaber, being Meiser, but also Ketz Chai, you reach the epitome of life, the extreme of life, the life that is beyond death. Right, so that's all for the midah of Yitzchak. So it's not, according to the Gevura of Pinchas that came from the Gevura of Yitzchak, could undo death. As the Atagi Barlam Hashem is the bracha of Mechaya HaMesim. It's wild, amazing stuff. Gewaldig. Okay, Chof Zay. It's also Zor Bamidbar, which would be Zor Chelik Gimel Reish Lamed Zayin Reish Lamed Ches. Herech Raya Mehimna. It's also Raya Mehimna. Which is that's the part of the Zor, like we said many times, is written under the inspiration of the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Right, it generally talks about Tamei Mitzvah. Generally. Starts with pointing out a particular mitzvah in the parsha. So the Raya Mehimna says, right, Ki Ra Pinchas Memshel Chema process. So there's a slightly different version. The Raya than the Zohar we just quoted. This is, from the Raya Mehimna, a different part of the Zohar, different part of the composite that makes up the Zohar, that says that what Pinchas saw wasn't the mem of Maveh. It's a slightly different version, same but a very similar idea. He sort of Memshel Chema. It is the mem of the word chema, anger, hanging in the air, because obviously Akash was very angry at Am Yisrael at that time. That's why there was a magefa, there was chema, after chema, right? Right, there was a plague going on because Akash was so unhappy with the znus that Am Yisrael was doing with Benos Midyan. Chotav also Shitvaim Raish Ches. So now he had now the Gvur of Yitzchak, the Yud in his name that made his name Gematria Reish Ches 208, and he grabbed the mem of Chema and he put it together Reish Umin Yitzchak, which is the Reish Ches, which is the minion of Yitzchak, Umin Pinchas B'Yud, right? And so Reish Ches, which is Yitzchak, which is Pinchas with a Yud. So now with this, that Yud added the power of the Gvura of Yitzchak, and now with that Gvura he grabs the mem of Chema. V'na'aseh Romach, and adds it to his name that's now Gematria Reish Ches. That with that mem now it's Romach, that is the spear, connected spear with which he killed Zimri. He skewered Zimri and Cosby shish kebab. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. V'achakach Ra'ah, and after that Pinchas saw Milas Vav min Maves Prachs Ba'avir. He also saw the letter Vav of the word Maves, floating in the air. V'chatva nasa romach bevav. Right, so the Raya Mimna says that he grabbed the Vav and of Maves also. So I guess when pulling the mem out of Chema, that had repercussions. That the mem also loosened from the word Maves. As a result of that, sent vibes that caused even the mem to kind of loosen a little bit from the word Maves. He grabbed the mem of Chema. And with that, he was able to grab the Vav out of Maves and add it to Romach, because he's incorporating it all into his act of killing Zimri. Which, when you think about it, Pinchas didn't die. Pinchas Eliyahu went up to Shemayim alive. That's why Pinchas, he undid death itself, so it had positive ramifications for us, to accelerate our tikkun, right? Which is the chashivus of tikkun abris, which is what he was a kanoi for. We're working on during show, but Pinchas, who did this, you think about it, he didn't die. He didn't die. So I don't know if we're going to read this in the Zohar in a second, but I'm sure the Zohar means it. Pinchas, undid death itself with, in this act of killing Zimri. So being involved such a fundamental tikkun. So for us, it had a spillover effect, a trickle down effect. But for him who was actively engaged, it makes sense that he transcended death, and when he subsequently becomes Eliyahu Navi, he goes up alive to heaven. He never died. Okay, so with what merit did Yitzchak Avinu grab these two letters, Mem from Chema and Vav from Maves, after he grabbed the Mem of Chema, which kind of, I guess, loosened the weave of Mem from Maves also, so he could pull out the Vav. So with what merit did he grab these two Oisias, Visha Shitev Imo Koch, basically Yitzchak v'Yaakov, because he incorporated himself the power of two tzaddikim, Yitzchak and Yaakov. Right? Vizel Pinchas. Pinchas is, with the Yud that is. It's Pnei Chas, the two faces. Pnei, because now he has the Yud in his name. Pnei Chas, right? The faces of mercy. Bishmei Panim Elu Chas HaKosh goes on with these two faces. Hashem was Chas, had Rachmanas. Chas Rachman Allah, and HaKosh was Chas. He had mercy on Am Yisrael. So now how do you see Yitzchak? We understand it's alluded to because it's the gematria of Pinchas with the Yud is Reish Ches. Gematria Yitzchak. Well, how do we know Yaakov? Yaakov Nikra Pniel, right? Pnei Kel, right? Pnei Kel, Pnei Chas, Pnei Kel, Pniel. And now with this also he's joining Yaakov with Yitzchak because he's willing to die, just like Yitzchak was willing to die on the Akedah. Right? This Zohar immediately just causes me to think of what the Zohar writes in Parshas Emor. That's where it is. Emor by the mitzvah Tkiyas Shofar. That's also what happens by Tkiyas Shofar. When Hashem turns Midas Din into Midas Rachim, it's like the Kol Shofar joins Yaakov and Yitzchak together. Yitzchak turns to Yaakov. So it's a very big tikkun of turning Dinim into Rachamim, from Dinim Koshim to Rachamim, from Gvura, but that the Gvura should process that should lead to Pnei Chas, to Rachmanas, Tach Shekinel Kav Vayechaper al Bnei Yisrael. That's mamash also the tikkun that's made by the time of Tkiyas Shofar, that the shows Besora Kol Yaakov, that Yitzchak then turns to Yaakov and blesses Yaakov. So it's very interesting. It's the Yitzchak, Pinchas doing Kanoim Pogimbo is a similar tikkun to the tikkun made by Tkiyas Shofar. Right? Okay, we'll do one more. Kaf Ches. Because Sefer Bereshis Daf Kufayin Daud Amid Aleph. So in Sefer Bereshis Kufayin Daud Amid Aleph, it says, Tam Lama Shanu Korim Yaakov Achasham El Hashem Yisrael Yeshmecha. Why do we find that the Torah is constantly still calling the Yaakov, even after he was said Yisrael Yeshmecha, right? It flip flops, but it's still most of the time he's called Yaakov. Yeah, he's called Yisrael sometimes. Why? So Yisrael Yeshmecha. V'lam Avram called Avram, as opposed to Avram Avinu, that he was never called Avram ever again. So when Hashem changed Avram to Avraham, he's never called Avram ever again. Right, and by Yaakov, when he switches it to Yisrael, he's called Yaakov plenty after that. He's actually called Yaakov as a private citizen. When Hashem is talking to him or the Torah is talking about him, he's called Yaakov much more than he's called Yisrael. Right? The Gemara in Brachas, I think it's Daf Yud Gimel, deals with this also. But this is the Zohar's approach. I'm sure it'll be very similar to the famous Gemara at the end of Brachas that ponders this question. Vesha, so the Zohar, when it raises the same questions raised in the Gemara and Brachas, answers Ki Avram, Ksevaya Shimcha Avram, V'haya Shimcha Avram. Your name will be Abraham. L'kach nishar bo zeh Hashem. Right? V'haya Shimcha Avram. Right? Yaakov lo ksiv V'haya Shimcha. So Rak Yisrael Yeshmecha. So you see, it's a different mahalach than what I'm sure it's reconcilable, but the Gemara in Brachas takes a slightly different approach. That Avram is being uprooted and Avraham is your name, whereas when Yisrael will be a name, Yaakov is not being uprooted. Just Yisrael will be your main name, Yaakov your secondary name. All right, so and I don't remember off the top of my head the nuance of how the Gemara saw that, but what the Zohar is saying is that V'haya Shalom, your name is Avraham. Your name is Avraham. No, so I guess it's V'haya, is V'haya means could be also in the past, so certainly from this point onwards, so V'haya could mean in the past, could also mean in the future, but with the Vava Mahapech. But when it's V'haya, it means from this point onwards. Right? So Hashem only has this name. Yaakov looks at V'haya, so it doesn't say Yisrael, and your name will be Yisrael, but Yisrael, yes, your name will be Yisrael, not and your name will be Yisrael, meaning so when it's only Lashon Asid, not past tense with the Vava Mahapech that makes Lashon, but it's like Yihiyah means in the future. In the future, your name will be Yisrael. Right? So maybe, at the end of time, maybe we're only going to call Yaakov Yisrael. In the future, but in the future, mamish. Right? Whereas V'haya, which could also be read, and it was, so it could be read both ways. And it was, or it will be, V'haya implies, as we understand, or from this point onwards. That's the difference between V'haya and Yihiyeh. V'haya, which is a very big lesson. I mean, I would challenge the people out there in cyberspace who are hearing this to check me on this. I think the Zohar is teaching us a lesson in Dikduk, that V'haya makes Haya future tense, but Haya in essence means the past, and V'haya, the Vav means that. So it is connecting the past and the future, which means from this point onwards, present, which connects past here. From this point onwards, your name is Avraham. Whereas Yihiyeh doesn't necessarily mean from this point onwards. It means it will be. Right? And I want people to check. I think this is a very interesting lesson in Dikduk, that V'haya and Yihiyeh are V'haya with the Vava Mahapech and Yihiyeh are not perfect synonyms. V'haya, since it's the past, but the Vava Mahapech connects it to the future, which means it'll include the present, which is the connector between past and future. Yihiyeh could just mean like lost in love. Right? That's what it sounds like, and it is a very big fundamental lesson in Dikduk. All right, we will stop here.